All right, let's go ahead and call the Senate to order. Sergeant Arms will please secure the chamber doors. Members, please take your seats. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President,
All right, Senators, we are very pleased today to be joined by Pastor Damian Johnson of Seabrook Seventh-day Adventist Church in Lanham, Maryland, guest of the distinguished senator from the 22nd District. Please rise for the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord, there is no God in heaven or on earth like you, who keep your covenant and mercy with those who walk before you with all their hearts. Open your eyes and your ears toward this chamber, that you may hear the prayer which your servant makes towards this place, and that you may witness the deliberations that serve to enhance the lives of the citizens of Maryland, and by extension, people throughout the nation and the world. O God, whenever decisions are weighed in this place that promote liberty and justice for all, then hear from heaven and act and move it forward. O God, regard the faithful work of your servants in the Senate and uphold every measure, every legislation, every action that will accomplish your just cause in this state and beyond. O Lord, when the petitions, the needs, the concerns of your people come to the floor in this place, when the cry for greater access to educational and economic opportunities are raised in this place, when the plea of those who seek a better quality of life for their children and grandchildren are voiced in this place, then hear from heaven and answer through the wise and fair judgment of your servants here in the Senate. And Lord, when we cannot see our way through to a resolution, when the pathway to consensus is unclear, when we struggle to agree on issues that significantly affect the well-being of our people, then send your divine spirit and whisper to every heart and mind, and let your will be done in this place. And Father, I would be remiss if I did not pray for all those affected by the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in our great state. Grant comfort to the families affected and wisdom to all those involved in rescue and recovery efforts. This prayer I humbly submit to you today. Amen.
Senator from the 22nd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is an honor and privilege to introduce Pastor Damian Johnson, a native of Washington, D.C., found his calling in the historic first Seventh-day Adventist Church where he was baptized. He pursued his passion for ministry, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Theology from Columbia Union College and a Master's of Divinity from Andrews University. Throughout his journey, he served communities in Alexandria and Capitol Heights before becoming the senior pastor at the great Seabrook Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is where he resides now. Alongside his wife, who's here today, Charmaine, and their 3 sons, he cherishes the privilege of spreading the message of God's love for humanity, both locally and globally, with a passionate dedication to sharing the gospel. Mr. President, I'll be remiss if I did not acknowledge the community of the Seventh-day Adventist Church that has welcomed me in with open arms in their community and their church. We've hosted backpack giveaways. We've hosted Feed the Homeless events. We've did coat drives and coat giveaways at the church. And so with that, Mr. President, I ask that we journalize the pastor's remarks. Thank you.
Without objection, Senator, most certainly we will journalize the remarks and appreciate the good pastor's works as well as his invocation this morning. Thank you. Thank you. All right, has everyone recorded their presence in the chamber? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland is now again in session. Senators, just very briefly, if you want to just a couple reflections from yesterday. First and foremost, I want to thank the President Pro Tem for holding up the shop without us. Thank you, sir. We were we were joking yesterday that sometimes it's, it can be intimidating up here at times, especially when things get a little spicy. So he did a phenomenal job, and I'm so thankful for his work. I appreciate the indulgence from the body. Seeing the Francis Scott Key Bridge yesterday was something that was truly, something I'll never ever forget. And as I have been reflecting on it over the last day, there's sort of three big things that I think I really take away from it. First and foremost is in the midst of tragedy, I've always been taught by my parents to look for the angels. And getting there yesterday morning and seeing the first responders and the intensity and the professionalism, it was overwhelming. Within 6 hours, a unified command was in full operation. It was humming on all cylinders in this tragic environment, and it just was truly remarkable. We were so blessed in the state of Maryland to have such incredible first responders. The second was speaking with the families and those impacted who tragically, it appears, have lost their lives. Just going to work. We're sitting and waiting for an inspection to be over, and just like that, the fragility of life hits. And I think it was unbelievably sobering. And then the third point that I just keep reflecting upon after talking to all the folks that are involved in some way with the port, this is one of the economic engines for the entire Eastern Seaboard, for the entire country. And you sort of take it for granted at times that it just is pumping out billions of dollars of economic activity, which means food on the table for families. And today, the port is closed. Something that didn't happen in COVID, didn't happen for hundreds of years, but today the Port of Baltimore is closed. And what's become so clear as we honor those who have lost their lives, we also, the key is to unlock the channel so the port can reopen. That is going to be the number one goal that will help kick things back together. So we'll get through it. We will. It was truly, it was breathtaking to see just how quickly something so iconic can fall. But such is life. And so we rebuild and we rebuild stronger. So thank you all for letting me that small indulgence. And it's a privilege to be able to do this work and respond to such important moments for the 6.5 million Marylanders that are counting on us. So with that, let's see if there are any introductions from folks. Any introductions today? Senator from the 33rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, today I have a shadow here with me today. Paul Murphy is an 18-year-old senior high school student at the Learning Community International, an accredited private school based in Columbia, Maryland. Born in Annapolis, lived in Odenton all his life. He's an Eagle Scout, currently does a weekly volunteer internship in an orthotics clinic at the Anne Arundel Medical Center in Annapolis. He plans to attend Anne Arundel Community College, and he's joined here today as well by his father, Andrew. If you could just kindly give him a round of applause. Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome. Any other, Senator from the 30th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we have a Girl Scout troop with us, Troop 10275 from Glen Burnie, 4th and 5th graders above me. If we can give them a warm Senate welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a great spring break day, hopefully, enjoying. That's wonderful. All right, any further introductions? Are we ready to jump in today? All right. Without objection, so be considered the reading of the journal from the prior legislative day. We'll start with a consent calendar. These are second readers. Clerk will read the calendar.
Report on the Committee of Education, Energy, and the Environment, report number 36, consent calendar number 13.
Recognizing Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. These bills on this consent calendar are identical. These are House bills identical to the Senate bills that passed unanimously out of this chamber previously. So that's the extent of all the bills on this calendar.
All right, the chair moves that we adopt the consent calendar's favorable report. Senators, please take a look if there are any bills on the list that senators wish to separate and vote separately. Are there any objections to the motion? Without objection, the motion carries. The bills will be moved past to third reader. Clerk, read the next calendar.
Report of the Committee on Education, Energy, and the Environment, report number 37, consent calendar number 14.
Recognizing Chair of the committee.
Same thing. These are House bills that are in exactly the same posture as Senate bills that passed unanimously out of the chamber previously.
All right, the chair moves that we adopt the favorable report for the bills on the consent calendar 14. Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a request that House Bill 343 be separated out.
343.
So it's separated out on third reader.
343. All right. 343 will be separated. Any others? Any additional? If not, for all bills other than 343, the chair has moved for the adoption of the favorable report. Any objections? Without objection, the report is adopted and the bills will be passed to third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 343, Delegate Munoz, Environment, Cox Creek Citizens Oversight Committee, alterations favorable.
All right. Recognizing the chair of the committee on the report.
Yeah, can we maybe move this?
I can explain.
Yeah. We've got the Senate sponsor cross-file. Why don't we yield to the
Yield to the,
Thank you, Mr.
yield to the
President.
cross. Yes.
So this is an identical cross-file of a Senate bill that we passed, and it alters the membership and the authority on the commission. I move the favorable committee report.
All right. Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 343 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will now read the next. We have another consent calendar. Clerk will read the next report.
Report of the Committee on Education, Energy, and the Environment, report number 38, consent number 15.
Recognizing chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, these bills in their entirety are cross-files of Senate bills that have passed unanimously out of the Senate previously, and they're in exactly the same posture.
All right, the chair moves that we adopt the favorable report for the bills on consent calendar number 15. Please take a look. Are there any bills that senators wish to separate out? If not, any objection to the adoption of the favorable report? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted and the bills will be passed for third reading. All right, let's see. We are now on to non-consent calendar. Report number 39, Education, Energy, and the Environment. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 60, Delegate Guyton, Rehabilitation Services Disability Definition, favorable.
Recognizing Senator from Frederick City as the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill, for purposes of identifying individuals eligible for rehabilitative services, alters the definition of disability to be any physical or mental impairment that constitutes or results in a substantial impediment to employment or independent living to conform to related definitions under federal rehabilitation acts. This bill was voted unanimously out of committee. There is no fiscal impact. Therefore, I move for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 60 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 367, Delegate Smith, Community Colleges Contraception Access Requirements, favorable.
Recognizing chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, House Bill 367, is the same as Senate Bill 527 that has passed by the Senate. The bill requires each community college, in consultation with students and student organizations, to develop and implement a plan to provide students with access to over-the-counter contraception by a certain date. By September 1, 2025, and annually thereafter, each community college must report to the Maryland Higher Education Commission on implementation of the plan. By October 1, 2025, and annually thereafter, MHEC must report to the General Assembly on the information collected. On request, the Department of Health may assist a community college in developing a plan and consulting and collaborating with organizations with expertise in providing access to over-the-counter contraception through vending machines. There were no committee amendments. Mr. President, I'd move adoption of the favorable committee report, again on House Bill 367.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 367 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 472, Delegate Atterbury, Education School Mapping Data Program established, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing vice chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an exact cross-file of the Senate bill 540 that passed on March 3rd unanimously. The one difference, you may remember a floor amendment about keeping the data on the school maps private. It was seen by council after further examination that it be moved to a different section of the code. It will still keep the information private and keep them as exempt from the Maryland Public Information Act, but it just does it slightly differently. Move the adoption of the committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 472 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 569, Delegate Solomon, Higher Education Credit Eligibility and Transfer Credits, English as a Second Language Courses, Credit for All Language Learning, Call Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing President Pro Tem as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 569, as amended, is identical to Senate Bill 395 as passed unanimously by the Senate. This bill requires English as a second language or English language learner courses taken at a public community college, that those courses that are not remedial are transferred to any public institution of higher education in the state as specified. Public institutions of higher education in the state may not deny the transfer of such credits for any reasons. These credits may also be transferable to a private nonprofit institution of higher education in the state. The private nonprofit institution must review and consider the transfer of credits. Public community college must consider a course or program for ESL learners as eligible for either world language or humanities credit or both towards a student's associate degree if the course is not classified as remedial. There are 2 amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 provides that specified language courses earned at a community college may be transferable to any private nonprofit institution of higher education in the state, and that the institution must review and consider the transfer of these credits. I move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 569 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 662, Delegate Guyton, Large Family Child Care Homes and Child Care Centers, Child Care Teachers, Minimum Age, favorable.
Recognizing the Senator from Baltimore City and County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. There is no Senate cross-file of this bill. However, it is designed to address and improve the ability of our child care centers to have qualified employees. Under current Maryland law, requires that a teacher must be a minimum age of 19. This bill simply changes that law to the year of 18. It passed unanimously out of the committee. There are no adoptions. There are no amendments. So I request the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. On the report, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 662 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 678, Delegate Harris, Public Higher Education, Communities of Interest, Targeted Recruitment and Outreach Efforts, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 23rd District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill requires each public 4-year institution of higher education to conduct targeted recruitment and outreach efforts every year. To that end, the other constituent institutions of the University System of Maryland, Morgan State University, St. Mary's College, must each adopt an annual update written policy that identifies communities of interest in the state, as well as the institution's targeted recruitment and outreach efforts for the communities of interest. There are no fiscal impacts. I move adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion of the report? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 678 is hereby ordered passed for 3rd reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 760, Delegate Polakovich Carr, Office of Legislative Audits, Local School Systems Report, favorable.
Recognize the senator from Baltimore County as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill requires each local school system to submit a report to the Joint Audit and Evaluations Committee on the status of implementation of corrective action to address repeated findings and recommendations identified by the Office of Legislative Audits in the most recent 6-year audit. This report is due on November 1st of the third year of a 6-year audit cycle. Each local school system must publish the report on its website, and any cybersecurity findings are redacted in a manner consistent with auditing best practices. There's no fiscal impact, and I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 760 is hereby ordered passed to third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1115, Delegate Solomon, County Boards of Education Budget Notice Transparency and Education Spending Act, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognize the senator from District 10 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleague, this bill is similar to Senate Bill 1026 as passed by the Senate. As amended, this bill requires the State Board of Education to adopt the process for the uniform reporting of information in the County Board of Education budget to timely share the information provided by a County Board of Education in the budget to a county governing body. County boards must prepare their annual budget to include as major categories: 1, specified current funds held in reserve; 2, the amount of any federal funds received in the last fiscal year; and 3, the amount of funds held in trust or otherwise dedicated toward long-term obligations for retiree health care costs or other post-employment benefits, and information used to calculate the county board obligation of these costs. There are 2 committee amendments. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the provision of the billing altering requirements for the transfer of funds between major categories. I move the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1115 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1244, Delegate Smith, Maryland Higher Education Commission Academic Program Approval and Institutional Mission Statements Requirements, favorable with 2 amendments.
Recognizing the senator from the 23rd District as floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as amended, this bill is identical to Senate Bill 1022, which passed unanimously by the Senate. The 2 committee amendments, the first was technical, the second struck the House amendments that would have limited which institutions could propose and implement certain graduate level academic programs during a specific period of time except under certain circumstances. I move adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the 2 committee amendments and the favorable committee report. On the 2 committee amendments, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the 2 committee amendments are adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objections, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 1244 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Before we go to the next calendar, recognize the senator from the 29th District.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Colleagues, if I could draw your attention to a moment to the balcony up top. I think he might have just left.
Oh, no.
So I saw Jerry Clark, retired delegate, who had just stopped in. And so happy to see him and just wanted to recognize him.
Excellent, thank you. If he comes back on the other side, we'll make sure to catch him. All right. Let's go to the next report from Education, Energy, and the Environment. This is Report 40. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1, Delegate Boyce, Maryland Paint Stewardship, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from District 10 as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this bill requires producers of architectural paint sold at a retail in the state or a representative organization acting on behalf of a producer to submit a plan for the establishment of a paint stewardship program to the Department of the Environment for approval. The bill establishes an implementation timeline and requirements, as well as the annual reporting requirements for producers or representative organization. The bill also requires the payment of a plan review fee for annual reports review fees to the department. Finally, The bill establishes a uniform paint stewardship assessment to cover program costs and a prohibition on the sale of architectural paint unless the producer or its representative organization is implementing an approved paint stewardship program. I move the favorable committee report. Mr. President, thanks.
All right, floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can I just motion to special order this until tomorrow, please, for one day?
Any objections to the one-day special order?
None at all.
Thank you very much.
All right, any objections from the floor? Without objection, we'll special order the bill for the appropriate time tomorrow. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 19, Delegate T. Morgan, Natural Resources, Northern Snakehead, common name, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 38th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for your earlier words. HB 19 establishes the common name of the northern snakehead as Chesapeake Chana. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 207, which passed this body 44-2. There are no committee amendments, and I move for a favorable committee report for House Bill 19.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 19 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 78, Chair Appropriations Committee, Maryland Environmental Service, Governance and Requirements, favorable with one amendment.
Recognize the Vice Chair of the Committee as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is a departmental bill that simply modifies and updates things like quorum calls, reporting, and auditing. There is one amendment that just changes the effective date of the bill to coincide with other reports and other things that they're working on. Move the adoption of the committee amendment and the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the one committee amendment and the favorable committee report. On the amendment, any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the one committee amendment is adopted. Question now is on the amended report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the amended report is adopted. Are there any further amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 78 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 481, Delegate Hutchinson, Natural Resources, Antlerless Deer Hunting Programs, authorization, favorable.
Recognize the senator from the 35th District as the floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the cross-file Senate Bill 367, which we passed earlier this session. This bill authorizes a person to receive a raffle ticket for each antlerless deer hunted by a person during a raffle program that is held in January, has as its objective the hunting of antlerless deer, and was previously held at least once from January 1st, 2020 through January 30th, 2024. This bill will take effect on July 1st, 2024. There are no committee amendments. I'd like to move for adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 481 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 510, Delegate Stewart, Business Facade Improvement Program, eligible funding, recipients, favorable.
Recognizing the senator from District 3 is the floor leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This bill expands eligibility for funding under the Business Facade Improvement Program in the Department of Housing and Community Development to include community development organizations that serve at least one sustainable community and applies for the funds. The bill also makes some conforming changes. Colleagues, what it does is it streamlines the application process as well as relieving local government of some administrative burdens. There was no fiscal note as the funds exist already. No committee amendments. It was voted unanimously out of committee. Therefore, I move the adoption of the favorable committee report.
Floor leader moves for the adoption of the favorable committee report. Any discussion? Any objections? Without objection, the favorable committee report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or its title? Seeing none, House Bill 510 is hereby ordered passed for third reading. All right, let's do these messages from the House. We have, let's start with the first message. The clerk will read the message.
Senate Bill 360, the President Budget Bill Fiscal Year 2025, by the Majority Leader. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not recede in the House amendments to the Senate bill and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Gazzone Chairman, Senator Rosapep, Senator McCray, Senator King, and Senator Quarterman. In addition, the Senate has appointed in advisory capacity Senators Bailey, Jackson, and Zucker. The House appoints Delegate Barnes, Chair, Delegate Chang, Delegate J. Lewis, Delegate Smith, and Delegate Grist. In addition, the House has appointed in advisory capacity Delegates Shetty, Watson, and Metzger. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
All right, message having been read is ordered journalized, so we will establish Conference Committee number 1. We have another message. Clerk will read the House message.
Senate Bill 362, the President Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act of 2024, by the Majority Leader. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates does not recede in the House amendments to the Senate and agrees to a conference committee to confer on the disagreeing votes of the two houses. The Senate has appointed Senator Gazzone Chairman, Senator Alfrith, Senator Salling, Senator Benson, Senator Jackson. In addition, the Senate has appointed in advisory capacity Senators Rosapep, Jennings, and Zucker. The House appoints Delegate Barnes, Chair, Delegate Corman, Delegate Atterbury, Delegate Watson, Delegate Edelson. In addition, the House has appointed in advisory capacity Delegates Smith, Metzgar, and Shetty. Said bill is returned herewith by order Sylvia Siegert, Chief Clerk.
All right. Let's see, we are having message having been read, the message is ordered journalized. That does it for budget items. We are now at third reading calendar. Let's see. Can we ring the bells and do a quorum call before third reading?
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 45 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. This is Senate third reading calendar number 80. Clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 415, Senator Lewis Young, Frederick County Local Gaming and Authorization for Electronic Tip Jar Dispensers.
Senate Bill 415 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 415, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Let's go to third reading calendar consent 3. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 1, consent number 3. These are House bills.
All right, these are House bills on third reading for final passage. Senators, please take a look. Are there any bills that senators wish to separate out? If not, any discussion? The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, bills on consent calendar number 3, having received a constitutional majority, are declared passed. Let's go to the next calendar. This is calendar number. Let's do the other consent calendar, actually. Let's just get that out of the way. This is consent calendar 4. Clerk will read the calendar.
Senate third reading calendar number 2.
All right.
Calendar number 3, consent calendar number 4. These are House bills.
All right, this is another consent calendar, third reading House bills. Please take a look. Yes, I recognize the senator from the 35th District.
On calendar 3, consent 4, could we separate out House Bill 88?
88 will be separated out. Any additional separations? If not, question before the body is on consent calendar number 4, excluding House Bill 88. Any discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House bills on consent calendar 4 having received a constitutional majority are declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 88, Chair Appropriations Committee, State Retirement and Pension System, immediate vesting.
House Bill 88 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 40 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 88, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, now let's go to third reading calendar number 2 of House bills. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 23, Chair Health and Government Options, Maryland Health Benefit Exchange, Qualified Health Plans, Dental Coverage.
All right, House Bill 23 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 36 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 23, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 42, Chair Health and Government Operations Committee, Public Health Services and Protections.
House Bill 42 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 42, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 90, Chair Economic Matters Committee, Insurance Hearing Representation.
House Bill 90 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 90, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 127, Chair Health and Government Operations Committee, Public Health, Non-Occupational Post-Exposure Prophylactic Standing Order Program Establishment.
House Bill 127 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 127, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 144, Chair Appropriations Committee, Public Employees Relations Act alterations.
House Bill 144 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 144, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 197, Chair Economic Matters Committee, Unemployment Insurance Work Search Requirement Exemption for Federal Civilian Employees during a federal government shutdown.
House Bill 197 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 197, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 198, Delegate Corman, Transportation WMATA Operating Assistance Alteration, Maryland Metro Funding Act of 2024.
House Bill 198 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 34 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 198, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 244, Chair Economic Matters Committee, Maryland Occupational Safety and Health Act, Civil Penalties Alterations.
House Bill 244 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. 34 votes in the affirmative. House Bill 244, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. All right, one more. We've got calendar number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 252, Chair, Economic Matters Committee, Insurance Holding Companies Group Capital Calculation and Liquidity Stress Test.
House Bill 252 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 36 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 252, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 277, Delegate Kerr, Frederick County Local Gaming and Authorization for Electronic Tip Jar Dispensers.
House Bill 277 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 277, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 280, Delegate Holmes, Local Government, Condominium and Homeowners Association Repair and Rehabilitation Funds.
House Bill 280 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Explain their vote. If not, the clerk will take the call. With 36 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 280, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 583, the Speaker, Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention Establishment.
House Bill 583 is on third reading for final passage. Chair recognizes the minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have an amendment to offer on this bill.
Senator has amendment. Pages will collect and distribute the senator's amendment. All right, Senator may explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, the purpose of this bill, as we've had in front of us before, is to create a Center for Firearm Violence Prevention and Intervention. And it's the discussion and the talking points in favor have been to try to deal with root causes of gun violence and the impact that gun violence has on communities. And I know, you know, I've expressed some skepticism about this being a focus, but I do recognize the intention behind it. One of the things that I thought was missing from the bill, and I really noticed it after we had already kind of gone through the debate, was when we're going to talk about violence prevention and firearm safety, we really need to have, a lot of it was dealt from the healthcare side and from, you know, community organizations dealing with, you know, with violence interruption, and I have no problem with that. But I thought one thing that was missing, and one thing that I think is often missing when we talk about gun violence and firearms, is the people often who are the loudest about it, because they're concerned about it, or often don't have a great understanding of how firearms work or what's already being done in the communities that have firearms as far as safety and security and expertise. And so I thought of a 60-minute story about the ATF, the federal ATF, and they had their firearms expert, and he was struggling to actually take part guns to show what he was trying to show, which was sort of shared all over social media and sort of in my world. So this amendment is just simple. It just adds in that we want to have them include, as they include people that they're drawing information from and participating in this Center for Firearm Violence Prevention, we want them to have individuals or organizations with expertise in firearm safety and training. So that's the amendment, is just to include that, to be sure there's a voice and a piece of the puzzle, because I think we have folks in communities that have never bought firearms as much that are now legally buying them, and I think it's an important piece to the puzzle. So, Mr. President, I would move the amendment and ask for the body's support.
All right, on the amendment, let's hear from the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President, and to my colleague, thank you for sharing the amendment. It would have been a great amendment in committee, but we'll accept it today as a friendly amendment. Thank you.
All right, no objections to the amendment. Any objections on the floor? Without objection, the amendment is adopted. Are there any further amendments or points of discussion? If not, House Bill 583 is on third reading for final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 35 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 583, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 604, the Speaker, Family Serve Act of 2024.
All right, House Bill 604 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 46 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 604, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 819, Delegate Rogers, State Finance Catastrophic Event Account and Federal Government Shutdown, Employee Assistance Loan Fund, Non-Civilian Federal Employees.
House Bill 819 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 42 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 819, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1002, Chair, Health and Government Operations Committee, Office of the Attorney General, Investigative Authority, Healthcare Fraud.
House Bill 1002 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1002, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 1048, Chair, Health and Government Operations Committee, Behavioral Health Advisory Council and Commission on Behavioral Health Care, Treatment and Access Alterations.
House Bill 1048 is on third reading for final passage. Any discussion? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote, explain their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. With 45 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1048, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senator from District 4.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to do a vote change on House Bill 88 from yay to nay.
88 from yay to nay. Do we have your, excellent. Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. House Bill 280, I'd like to do a vote change from yay to nay.
280. Do we have it? All right. Any objections? Any objections? Without objection, so ordered. Any further pieces of business? Senators, you'll notice we moved along a number of House bills today, making it clear that we're, this is that time of year. Silly season is upon us at times where there's lots of thoughts that things are moving or not moving in one way or the other. Things are moving, so I'm sure we'll see the same from the other side, but if anything changes, certainly keep us posted. But at the moment, things feel like they're moving along. So, let's see if there's, do we have any committee announcements? Chair of Finance?
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance will have hearings today at 1 o'clock. 15 bills, 24 witnesses, and hopefully it goes quickly because it's our committee dinner. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Chair of Education, Energy, and the Environment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee will meet at 1 p.m. We have 14 bill hearings, followed immediately by a voting session.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chair, Budget and Tax.
Thank you, Mr. President. Budget and Tax, the conferees, which ends up being the entire committee, for both the budget and the BRFO will be meeting at 3 o'clock.
Conferees, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock. All right. Chair of Judicial Proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Judicial Proceedings Committee will meet today at 1 p.m. for bill hearings. We have 20 bills, followed by a voting session.
All right. Excellent. Rules?
Thank you, Mr. President. Can the Rules Committee meet in the Silver Room very quickly right after session, please?
Excellent. And Executive Noms?
Executive Noms will meet in the Silver Room right after Rules.
Excellent. Silver Room's getting a lot of use today. A lot of use. All right. Any further piece of business? Recognize the Senator from the 29th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right, colleagues. I did see him up there, and he's back. Real quick, Jerry, could you stand up for a minute? Please give a warm Senate welcome to Delegate Jerry Clark.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us and coming back to say hello. And we have one more piece of business, but are there any other announcements? Yes, Senator from the 33rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 2 birthday boys today.
We do.
I promised that I wasn't going to forget. I forgot last year, so I have to make sure. Permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may proceed.
It's Senator J.B. Jennings' birthday today. If you give him a round of applause. And in addition, permission to use the senator's name.
Senator may
It's
proceed.
Chair of Budget and Tax, Guy Gazzoni's birthday today. Give him a round of applause. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's G&J Day. G&J Day. Happy birthday. Just where you wanted to be, right here. On these special birthdays. All right. Chair of the Veterans Caucus?
No, it's
Yeah.
Prince George delegation.
Prince-
You're getting better. You're getting better, though, Mr. President. Prince George delegation, 5 o'clock, Neil Room, and immediately following session, pictures right here by the steps. Thank you, Mr. President.
Excellent. Senator from Baltimore City?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Legislative Black Caucus, don't forget that right after Chambers, we're voting over in the caucus room for the officers for the following year.
Okay, excellent. Any further announcements before? If not, recognize the Senator from Montgomery County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, as we're getting ready to wrap up Women's History Month, I've got someone really special to tell you about. Her name is Dr. Martine Rothblatt. May not be a name you know, but it's one you really should, because she is ferocious, successful, effective, and so impressive. Dr. Rothblatt was born to a Jewish family in Chicago. She got a PhD, a JD, an MBA. Lots of letters after her name, but that's not the beginning of what's impressive about her. She started in the field of satellite communications. She developed and launched Sirius satellite radio. She went to University of Maryland College Park to study astronomy, but she was recruited by NASA. She led the project to develop the Universal Declaration on the Human Genome and Human Rights that was endorsed by the United Nations in 1998. She came out as transgender in 1994 at the age of 40, which was really early for that risk. She has become a vocal advocate for transgender rights. Now, here comes even more amazing stuff about Dr. Rothblatt, but wait, there's more. After her daughter was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension in 1994, Dr. Rothblatt founded United Therapeutics. It's based in Silver Spring, in the heart of Silver Spring in District 20, to work on developing a medication to manage the condition. In 2023, the revenue of United Therapeutics, just to give you a sense of this company, was $2.3 billion with a B and had almost 1,000 employees. She is an airplane and helicopter pilot with night vision goggles certification. But wait, there's more. In 2017, Forbes magazine named Dr. Rothblatt one of the 100 greatest living business minds of the past century, with special reference to her roles as, quote, a perpetual reinventor, founder of Sirius and United Therapeutics, and creator of Pan Am Sat, that's a satellite. In 2019, Dr. Rothblatt was recognized as one of Business Insider's most powerful LGBTQ plus people in tech. The National Business Aviation Association gave her its highest honor, the Meritorious Service to Aviation Award. I'm getting near the end, but there's still a few more things. In April of last year, she was given the Benjamin Franklin Medal for Distinguished Achievement in the Sciences from the American Philosophical Society. And just last week, Mr. President, the governor gave her the International Leadership Award. She lives with her wife, Bina, and their children. Dr. Rothblatt has been a ferocious and successful leader, role model, and inspirational person. She lives in Maryland, and we should be so proud. I am honored for the opportunity to brag about her and share some of her many, many, many accomplishments with you all today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I think that does it. Do we have any further business? Not? Let's do a, yes.
Yes, I would like
Sir
to journalize.
Of course, yes, of course, without objection, we will journalize, yes. Thank you, Senator. All right, any further business? If not, let's do a quorum call.
Mr. President,
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. With 46 members in the chamber and a quorum being present, the Senate of Maryland remains in session. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate of Maryland stand adjourned until Thursday, March 28th at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. Without objection, so ordered. Have a fun evening and safe evening tonight. See you tomorrow.